Hey y'all, it's the Train Freak here, and I'm doing my usual weekly update. And so I did do a little bit, took advantage of the cooler week. So before I get to showing you exactly what I've done, I always want to remind everyone who watches my videos too. And make sure you shade in the bell so that way you can receive the future notifications when I have upcoming contests, such as my 200 subscriber contest. And once I hit 180, which I know I'm very close, you would have saw my number on my subscribe clip. I will open up the contest, and I've got the contest figured out, and this is going to be a very different contest. And I want to try and see how it works before I go to, 300, 400, so on and so on. So, enough about that contest. I'll let you know when that opens. So, let's get to the layout update. Alright, so I've done just very little track work. I've got my track all the way up to here. That would be on the second loop. 2 almost complete loops. I've ran out of my pieces that I've cut, so I've got to cut more of those, and I've got more of my brace or supports ready to go. So you probably noticed that I went ahead and added all the supports in between, and it is starting to hold. It's a lot more sturdier than what it was, so I'm thinking this might work. I still need to cut some custom pieces and go underneath. So as far as the helix, this is really all I've gotten done. I went ahead and wired in a BD20 there, or actually got the device in. I still got to run my pair of communication wire over there to it for it to go back to the AIU01. Which I will get to that in a minute, because most of the work that I did this week due to cooler weather is a lot of wiring underneath the layout. So, let's get to that section. Alright. So, starting over here, under the layout, I have what's called an AIU01. And it acts on the cab bus, but it's what the BD20s that do the block detection, that's what it connects to. And so, you have your standard 6-pin wire, telephone wire or communication wire, whatever you want to call it. It runs to that, and then you can run from there to the rest of the devices on your cab bus. Well, at that point, I actually had the next wire running from the AIU01 up to my wireless throttle antenna, which I had sitting up here. Well, here's the thing. That antenna happens to have to be the last device on the cab bus. Now, there is a port A and a port B on the other side of that antenna. I really do not know what those ports are for. If you know, hey, feel free to let me know, because I don't know. But I know as far as when it comes to wireless devices, you always want your antennas up high. So, what I had to do, and I ended up getting another throttle, a second throttle in, so my son could be running a train while I'm maybe working in the yard, or he could be working in the yard while I'm, bringing another train or something. Basically wanted 2 throttles hooked up, and Marty M, or which used to be M&M Shortline, sold me a throttle. It was a Cabo 6. He sold it to me, pretty cheap. So I wanted to get that hooked up. So what I had to end up doing was running a wire from under here, and I'm going to show you what that card looks like. And I have to get my lantern because there's no light underneath. So, but that's it right there. And you can see the 2 telephone lines, one going in, one going out, or the cab bus line. It's not really the cab bus, or it's just basically the communications back to the command station. One going in, one going out. This other chip here, that is just a Digitrax AR1. That is an automatic relay for the balloon loop. But I had to run a 6-pin telephone wire from there all the way around. here, all the way around this way to my, I think this is called a UTP panel, or it's a PTP. I can't remember, so feel free to correct me if you know the answer. And then this allows me to use my wireless throttle wired in, so I don't use battery, or I can use this little Cabo 6 that Marty fixed me up with. Now, to use the wireless, well, of course, now I got to wire in the wireless receiver. So I had to run another cable from here back all the way around, and it's actually kind of tucked up here in the front. It's not in the back, it's close to the front. Run it around this way, and I came straight through, and you can see the wire that was all my extra slack. Up here, drilled a hole up on the top of my wall, and there's my antenna. Which you won't, this side of the wall is going to have the backdrop, so you won't be able to see that wire once my backdrop's up. So as far as the cab bus, that's what I've got done. Other than that, the last video showed where I was using this jumper wire here on my track bus to, you know, bring the power over. I had my power up to here, but I didn't have, or I had my power up to here, but I didn't have it on this side. And what I used to do that is the speaker wire, which one wire is like silver color, the other side's like a copper color. And this is what I use for my track feeders, smaller speaker wire. And then of course I use these wire nuts and these little staple things to hold it in place. Well, when I hooked in the connection down here, let me grab my lantern again. Right back there where you can see those two wire nuts, the track's wanting to short out. And it's shorting out right now, and I can show you because I've got a locomotive here on the track, and it will power up and just power down, and power up and power down. If I unconnect those wires, then I'm fine. So I thought, well, maybe I've got a short from here that way. So I traced everything that way. Everything is wired up right, which tells me that this wire that's coming in here, its next connection is back up in this corner here somewhere. Which I've got a little trap door that allows me to get in the corner, because the way I built this shelving was for storage. But you can see I put in a little trap door there that will fold back into the corner. And so that's where I'm going to have to go and figure out. And I think it might be that very back corner over there is where my wires got backwards. So, and Mother Nature has not been very nice here recently. She decided, let's crank up the thermostat. And so the hot humidity is back. So I was able to get quite a bit done wiring wise. But now what I'm going to have to do is move all my camping stuff back out, and then climb back up in there, check my wiring, make sure it's wired correctly. If not, then I need to reverse it and go from there. And, you know, because I've got to make sure that my wiring's right. Because it's going to be hard to kind of remember as I keep building that, well, if I flip-flop the connections here, what's it going to look like when I flip-flop it somewhere else? So, I've got to get this short troubleshooted, for sure. Other than that, that's really all I have done. The other wire that I use for my stuff, you can see I got a tortoise switch here, which has got to go in over there. Something pretty neat, before you clip your wires, I 3D printed these, and this will allow you to stick your tortoise up, and you can actually put in a screw right here and right there, and it allows you to adjust it until you get your perfect fit. It's much easier than trying to put the 4 screws in there. So I did 3D print that. You can find it off of Thingiverse. But I've got a big old spool of communication wire, and it's just a single pair. It was originally 1,000 foot, and I've been using it over the years, and I still got about 500, 600 feet there for sure. So, but I use that to wire in all my tortoise switches to my switch 8. I do have one switch 8, but I'm going to have to end up getting another one, just depending, but there's my switch 8 back there. Now, the nice thing about the Switch 8 is you can wire a pair of switches. For example, right here. Like if I'm coming from the balloon loop over here to the line that's closest to us, or closest to that green giant car, that curved switch and this straight number 6 turnout, it can be wired as a pair of switches. Because you're either going to have this track going in the curve and this track going straight, or you flip them both and then this track goes to the curve. So the Switch 8 can either wire a switch or a pair of switches. And if you're doing crossovers, you might as well just wire both of them together. I mean, it just makes sense and it saves. But I've got so many more turnouts. I mean, I've got one there. This starts the compound yard over here, so there's a few more there. I've got my car shops, that's got a couple. I've got a couple there. I've got a three-way turnout there with a Y after it. Got another one here, another one there, and then my ladder with a double slip going on and another switch. I mean, I might have to end up getting 2 more Switch 8s just to cover all the turnouts on the bottom section of this layout. And that's not going to include for when I go up to the next layer. So, yeah, this layout's going to require a lot of electronics. Now, as far as block detection goes and signaling, these are what I use. These are NCE BD20s. And all you got to do is run, one of your track wires, track feeders through here. And as long as you isolate, and let me show you what I mean by isolate. Like, if you look, let me get some light. I think we need a little light. There's my lantern. Okay. If you look how I've got these both with nylon feeders, and I've done the same thing over here. But necessarily you don't have to do that. You can just do one. So if you look at this turnout right there, you can see that the rails closest to me have just a regular rail joiner, where the rails farthest away have the insulated. And so really you're only having to insulate one side of the track. Whichever side of the track that you insulate, that's the feeder that you run through the BD20. The BD20 will detect occupancy, and then when it's connected to JMRI, which I will get to later down the road, that will let us know what signals need to be read. Now, as far as like the yard tracks and the stuff going to the roundhouse, machine shop, car shops, I'm not going to throw BD20s. This is mainly for your mainline area. Now, your signals going into the yard, you can configure those to be at restricting speeds no matter what. But as far as your main lines and your sidings, yeah, you need block detection on those if you're going to do some type of signaling. So, I've got one BD20 for the whole balloon loop. I've got one here for the small short section that literally goes from this switch to this switch, and its feeders are right there. And then, of course, the inside track, the outside track, which their feeders are back over in the corner right there. So right now I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4 BD20s, and then a 5th one into the helix. So only 5. And I can do up to 14 on that AIU01, so I'll probably not end up with any more AIU01s because I'm probably not going to run over 14 separate blocks. So, alright. Well, y'all, that's pretty much all I've got as far as, this layout update. Like I said, I mostly did a lot of wiring this past week, which I know that's a big thing to make the layouts work. However, it's nothing that you can really physically see, like track work or scenery goes, but wiring is a major component. So that's really what I've got to share and explain with you. So other than that, I'm going to let y'all have at it. Like I said earlier, make sure you subscribe. As soon as I get to 180, I'm going to open that contest up. I've got a Google form created to go. We're going to do something. I want to do something a little different. It's going to be a bingo. And each person that wants to enter the contest is going to get a bingo card. And of course, me and my family will help me run all the bingo numbers and the bingo cards. But the twist is, not everybody is going to automatically get 25 chips to use on their bingo card. Those chips have to be earned, and I'm not going to spoil that part yet. So I'm curious to see how this is going to handle out, or how many people are going to want to, you know, get in on it. I mean, of course, there's no entry fee, so it's a freebie. It's just, you know, if it's something that you want to be a part of. So, and like I said, I've got 3 prizes that, you know, one person will win one of those 3. The other 2 will end up carrying over. And then those prizes are valued at or around $50 each. So it's pretty nice stuff. So other than that, I'm going to let y'all have at it. You know, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you get the bell shaded in, so that way you will be notified when this contest opens. Share it, thumbs up. You know, thumbsing up helps YouTube's algorithms to get it out to the public a lot better. And then feel free to comment if you want to. So other than that, y'all be safe out there. I hope y'all have a great week coming up, and happy railroading.